All right, today we're going to tackle one of the most important and, let's be honest, often confusing institutions on the entire planet, the International Court of Justice.
So let me just start with a wild question. Can you actually put an entire country on trial? I mean, a whole sovereign nation for its actions. It sounds like something from a spy movie, right? But the answer is a resounding yes, and there's a very specific place where this happens.
And that place is the International Court of Justice, or the ICJ. You'll often hear it called the World Court, and for good reason. Its main job is to act as the top judicial body for the United Nations and settle legal fights between countries.
So what is it exactly? Well, it was created way back in 1945, right alongside the UN itself, to be its main court. And here's a cool little fact. While most of the UN is headquartered in New York City, the ICJ is all the way over in The Hague, at a place called the Peace Palace. The whole idea is to give countries a peaceful, legal way to work out their biggest disagreements.
And who are the people making these huge decisions? Well, that's where the number 15 comes in. The court has 15 judges, and each one comes from a different country. They're elected for 9-year terms, but, and this is so important, they do not represent their home countries. They're supposed to be totally independent, which is crucial for making sure the court is impartial on this massive global stage.
So, just to recap the basics, the ICJ is one of the UN's 6 main branches. It's based in The Hague, and it really does 2 key things. First, it settles those legal fights between countries, and second, it gives advisory opinions on legal questions to other parts of the UN that ask for them.
But how on earth does a lawsuit between 2 countries actually play out? I mean, you can imagine it's not a simple process. It's very formal, very structured, and it has some very clear steps.
Okay, so here's how it usually goes. It all starts with the countries filing what are called pleadings. Basically, these are super detailed written arguments laying out their side of the story. After that, we get to the oral hearings, which are public, and lawyers for each side make their case. Then, the 15 judges go behind closed doors to deliberate. And finally, they come out and deliver their verdict. This whole thing can take anywhere from a few weeks to, believe it or not, several years.
Now, the best way to really wrap your head around what this court does is to look at some of the actual cases it handles, because some of these have been major global news, really putting the court's power to the test.
Let's look at 2 recent, very big examples. First, you have the Gambia bringing a case against Myanmar about how the Rohingya population has been treated. And then you have South Africa filing a case against Israel over its actions in Gaza. Now, what's fascinating here is that a country doesn't have to be directly involved to bring a case. The Gambia and South Africa are acting on behalf of the entire international community, which is a key feature of how this court works. And the language used in these cases, it's just incredibly heavy. Take this direct quote from South Africa's filing. It argues that actions by Israel are genocidal in character. This kind of accusation is rooted in the 1948 UN Genocide Convention, which, by the way, both countries signed. Now, Israel completely rejects these claims. The court's job is to sift through all of it and make a decision based on international law.
Okay, so the judges deliberate, they make a ruling, but then what? What happens next? What real power does the ICJ actually have to make a country listen? This right here is where it gets really complicated.
First thing you need to know, the court's decisions are legally binding. They are final. There is no higher court you can appeal to. So, in theory, once the ICJ makes a ruling, that's it. Case closed. Countries are legally obligated to comply. But here it is. The million-dollar question. What happens if a powerful country just looks at the ruling and says, no? This is the ICJ's biggest weakness. It has no police force, it has no army, it has absolutely no way to physically force a country to follow its orders. So if a country just ignores a ruling, there's really only one place to turn: the UN Security Council. The Security Council has the power to take action to enforce the judgment. But you might see where this is going. That system has a massive loophole. And here is the perfect real-world example of that loophole. Back in 1984, the ICJ ruled against the United States in a case brought by Nicaragua. The U.S. flat out refused to comply. So when the issue was taken to the Security Council for enforcement, the U.S., as one of the 5 permanent members, just used its veto power to kill the resolution that was meant to force its own hand.
Now, before we wrap this up, we have to clear up one thing that trips a lot of people up. You hear about 2 big international courts in The Hague, the ICJ and the ICC. They sound similar, but trust me, they are completely different.
So if you remember one thing from this whole explainer, please let it be this. It's actually super simple.
The ICJ, the International Court of Justice, is a court for countries. It deals with disputes between states. The ICC, the International Criminal Court, is a court for people. It prosecutes individual people for things like war crimes and genocide. One is for states, the other is for individuals. It's that simple.
And that really brings us to the heart of the matter. The ICJ stands as the world's highest legal authority. It offers a path to peace that's based on law, not war. And yet, its power comes more from its moral authority than from any real ability to enforce its rulings. So we're left with a pretty big question. In a world full of powerful, sovereign nations, is the voice of a world court really enough?